In this video, I will be talking about project routing and how you can configure your project in such a way that you can scale it with adding lots of different projects and different things like that. Um, in the Node.js course that we've been working on together, there are a number of different ways that you can route things, and I'm going to merge a couple of those and kind of show you guys what I did. Before I go into this, let me go ahead and show you how I set this up. So I don't have a project right here like an e-commerce project or an additional project that I'll be working on later in the semester yet, but this is structured in such a way as far as the routing and everything goes that the architecture is set and it'll be really easy to just add more tabs up here or just add different sections of my website. So when I click on team activities, you can see it goes to a team activity location in this domain. And then I have my week 1 team activity with everything in here if I wanted to look at something. And these paths just kind of extend out from that team activity URL and then the week 1 team activity and then all those additional paths as I look at these, okay? And it's the same thing if I go to team activity 2, you can see that here I have team activities and then week 2. The exact same way that I had for week 1, and then I can come in here and do whatever I want to, and it's all set up in a way that is functional, okay? I can go over to prove assignments, and as you can imagine, I have proof assignments and then 0, 1 for my week 1 proof assignment. Okay, I can put values into here and run it, and you can see that math was just appended to the URL, and that's pretty much it. Okay, continuing that, I can continue on to proof assignments 02 and see everything that's going on here, and so forth. Okay, class activities. All right, anytime we do coding examples in class, I'll go ahead and put those here in the class activities. So for week 2, I just have this CSE 341 game catalog, and I can click here to view a game list. You can see I have class activities 02 for week 2, and then game list. Okay, if I run this, I can see this data here. In addition to that, I can click on other games in here and run it, and you can see it's just appending this data to the URL. But everything is nicely organized inside of my class activities, week 2, and those other areas of my site. Okay, now, anytime I want to add a new project, so let's say I wanted to add an e-commerce project or something like that, I could easily make a nice tile here on the home page or add another button in the nav bar, and then for that new route, I would just set up a directory of routes basically to say, hey, this is for the e-commerce routes instead of for the team activities or the proof assignments or the class activities. Or if I wanted to make a different application, I could do the same thing. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and look at the project. You'll realize that this was cloned just yesterday or 2 days ago from the CSE 341 project repository that you clone from in week 2 to kind of build your projects off of. And I'm just going to focus on today what changes I made to incorporate these routes. Okay, so if I click on routes, you'll see, let me close this up a little bit. You'll see I have an index.js. I have class routes, prove routes, and team routes. Okay, let me actually go to my index.js file first. You'll see it's pretty short. Okay, and the only route that I have referenced here is this guy. Say, hey, if anything is in this domain, let's go ahead and use routes. And this is imported just straight from the routes directory. And if I don't list a name here, which I didn't, then it'll just find the index.js file. Okay, that index.js file says, hey, I'm going to use the class activities. Again, same thing. I didn't specify a name, so we know there's an index.js file in there, and in here, and in here. Okay, and so I say, I'm going to use the class activities one, the team activities one, the prove activities one. If I hit the home page, here's what I want to render. Okay, and if I hit any other page that I don't have covered, then we're going to render this 404 page. All right, and that is just in my base routes, okay? And it's right here, if I added an e-commerce application or something like that, I could add a new directory of routes for that application. All right, so let's go ahead and look at class routes right here. Right now, I only have one class activity. I have that week 2 activity that I just showed you guys. So if I click on index.js, you can see I have this class routes.use. So I say, hey, if I hit this O2 route, then we're going to go ahead and load up this class activities page, and that will just look inside of views, inside of pages, class activities, and in this case, this is saying just the home page for the class activities, so it would render that index.ejs file. If I hit that O2 path, then it would go into week 02, and it would render that guy. Okay. So if I come back into here, so I have our class activities. If I look at my team activities, there's a little bit more in there. So I click on my team routes because that's where it's being required from. Look at my team routes, and you can see I have one for each team activity. In addition to that, I have an index.js file inside of my team routes folder. Okay, and so I say, hey, if I hit the URL /01, then we're going to use this TA01 route, this guy right here. Okay, anything in here, that's what we're going to use. And then here's your week 1 team activity solution. Okay, if I hit this week 2 route, then we'll use everything inside of this week 2, this week 2 routes file. Okay, and so I can organize this really well. So I have all my team stuff right here where I want it. I say, hey, if I hit the home page for this, then I'll render the team activities. Now, one thing to note is if you look back in the browser, let me pull that up real quick. You'll notice that when I click on a team activity and I go to team activity 1, it says team activities 01. Okay, so how does it, if I say, hey, hit the path 01, then use the team activity 01 file? Okay, well, that is because where this is being required from my team routes, or from my, this is being required from my team routes. Okay, so in here where I say, hey, if I have a team activities path, then I'm going to go to my team activities file, which is right here. Okay, and then in here, all of this will be after this team activities URL, but I don't have to state that here. In fact, I can't. If I try to state that here, it won't work. Okay, but instead, it knows that, hey, I'm already in like the team activities domain portion of my website, and all of these will just be kind of further drilling into that. Okay, and then same thing with everything else. You know, I have just O2 listed here for the class routes. All right, but inside of the index.js file of my routes, I say, hey, if I hit class activities, then I'm going to use this class routes file. And then I go into here and say, okay, well, right now all I have is the week 2 activity. So if I hit the class activities /week 2, then I'm going to need this file, and I'll load up this file, and so forth. Okay. So this is a bit of work to get set up, but the really nice thing is that once you get this set up, you don't have a crazy amount of code in any single place. If you look at my index.js file, this is it, and this is never going to change. Okay, my team activities file right here for my paths, I mean, whoops, that's not right. Right here, I mean, all I'm ever going to have is, you know, maybe like another 8 lines of code here, and that's it, because I'm only going to have like 13 team activities. You know, and then in here, same with the class routes, or in the prove routes, same with right here. Okay, and so my purpose in sharing this with you guys is to help you understand how to get a good architecture set up for a project that is easily scalable. So with this architecture, I can very easily just add new directories in here and just kind of build off of that. Okay, one helpful website that I found, I think I closed it. No. Yeah, right here. Okay, I don't know who Searsai is, okay, but this express routing example is very similar to what I did. So you'll notice that this index.js file, it has 2 different projects, if you will. And then it says for each one of those domains in that website, we're going to use these files. Okay, and then you go back into models, and there's an index.js file, and it has all the routes for that specific domain in the application. And then at the root of it all, we have app.js, and all it requires is this guy, routes. So then I could go into routes and then find the index.js file, which references the cars route and the models route. Okay, so if you want to search for this as well, you can copy and paste code. This is a really simple example of what I'm showing you. So anyways, I hope that this is helpful. Let me know if you have any questions.